morning.
Mill, I really appreciate the history that you gave us about the backpacks. The thing that struck me most is how it began as a tool for climbing. It remains so. The folks historically that have been gifted with these representations of your love for other folks are usually at the beginning of a climb that they don't know how far up it'll go, and we're struggling to find out how deep it starts from. So I thought that very appropriate for you to share. I want to clear up a couple of things, if I could, about the history of myself and Glendon Heights, as well as Second Chance Center. And y'all started before Second Chance Center was born, supporting me. You know, John Simpson, who's in the audience back there, John actually facilitated the opportunity for me to speak publicly for the first time with men who were released from prison or experiencing chronic homelessness at the Crossroads shelter. It was the first time I ever did this work publicly, and it was kind of like a year-long audition, I think, before he got his boss to actually offer me a job at the Turnabout program. And when I came in for my first day of work, they made it very clear to me that there was a pecking order, and I was at the bottom of it. Right ahead of me was Ian, who I'm sitting here watching him with a hoodie on now. When I met him, he was about this big and was in a crib in John's office. So that's how far back we go. And he was my immediate superior at Turnabout program. You mentioned this book that I wrote. You all hosted a book signing here when the book first came out, which was much appreciated and amazing, actually. I had conversations with a couple of people afterwards that really took me by surprise because they shared with me their personal experience with incarceration and with substance abuse disorders and with mental health issues. And I was surprised because at that time I still did a little bit of profiling myself, thinking that some people probably didn't fall into a category where they could relate to me or me to them. Well, that's totally been blown out of the water, okay, over these last few years. But I want to tell y'all something else too, and I was reminded this morning about something that I shared with you all probably many years ago. But I want to go back even a little further because we want to introduce to this congregation today Khalil Halim, our executive director. And I'm going to tell you, it took me about 16 years in prison to get to the place where I was open to someone helping me sort things out. For the first 15 years of my incarceration, I spent every single day in court someplace, fighting a case or appealing a case because my only desire was to get out of prison. And I did that by blaming everyone for everything I could imagine that they did wrong. Well, it was 15 years in when I realized, yeah, they may have got this wrong and this wrong and this wrong, but they got the right guy. You were running amok and you weren't going to stop. That led me to a path of looking for some help to figure things out. And there was a program in prison called the Crossroads to Freedom Therapeutic Community Program. It wasn't really a fan of the general population. It was considered a rat program or whatever. People who were saying these things really had no idea about what was going on in that program. But I spoke to people who actually succeeded in going through the program, and they talked about the cognitive restructuring efforts that were a part of it and how they were able to connect dots they hadn't been able to connect in all of their lives. And it took me a while still, but I finally committed to trying to get into this program, and I got transferred to this facility. But prior to that, a woman who I told many of you about, Tanya Garcia, who ran that program, and I'll tell you something about her later, but she spoke to Khalil, who was already in that program for about a year and a half and was the senior peer at this program. And she asked him if he knew me, And he said no, but he had heard of me, which in prison is not a good thing, y'all. And she said, well, I'm going to let him into this program, which was kind of a stretch. And she said, take care of your brother. That's what she said before I met him. And that's what he's done since the day I met him. I went into this program voluntarily, but I also went in with a mindset where I told my wife, in fact, I'm going to give them something to work with, but I'm not going to let them get in my head. So there was still this reservation. Meeting Khalil, I quickly learned that that kind of thing wasn't going to work. And he emphasized the kind of things I needed to do to get the most out of the program, including being very honest with myself about what I was dealing with. It was something that drew me to him at that time because he never told me how to cut a corner, how to take an easy route. You know, it was always an emphasis on what needed to be done to make the most out of an opportunity that I was presented with to work on myself and get my life in order. I remember the day he walked out of prison. It was December 10th, 2004. 2004? And I walked him almost as close to the gate as I could. And as he walked away, you know, I'm standing there crying. He tells everybody I'm a crybaby, maybe so. But I was crying for two reasons. One, I was going to miss him. And two, I was like, one day that's going to be me. Because I was following the template that he laid out. You know, this Second Chance Center and the work we do started way back then. You know, learning about how to restructure the way we think, how to be honest and open about self-assessment, how to trust the process and follow through with it with commitment. It started way back then. It started with his tutelage, and it's continued to this day. I was asked to remind you all about the Tanya Garcia story because our relationship didn't start off really great. In fact, we locked horns for 6 months. I thought she hated me. I was sure that I hated her. There was nothing I could say or do that was satisfactory. And before Khalil left, he had gotten me to join a book club that Tanya ran. And the first book we read was, I believe, Who Stole My Cheese? It didn't take long after that book for me to start connecting dots and Tanya's approach to me to become one that was embracing and not really combative. When she saw that I was starting to get it, lights were coming on. Well, anyway, fast forward to the day that I'm getting ready to walk to that gate, and it's January 6th, 2006, January 4th, 2006, excuse me. And Tanya's late for work. It's a must that I see her. I'm getting ready to go back out into this world after almost 18 years, and I feel like I really, really have a chance. I don't know what's going to be confronting me when I get out there, but I felt prepared. And I attributed a lot of that to her discipline with me, her love for me. And I'm waiting around for her to come in, and it's raining, it's sleeting, it's very cold, but I got on street clothes, so I'm still feeling good. And she's a little short Puerto Rican lady about this tall. Every time I show her, she gets shorter, but finally she mobs up. She mobs into the facility, and I see her, and I step to her, and I'm trying to explain to her how much gratitude I feel for the year and some months that I spent with her, but I couldn't form a coherent statement. It's like I was just babbling and crying, and I'm not talking about tears out of the eyes crying. I'm talking about bubbles out of the nose. You know what I mean? It was horrible. And she took pity on me. Rashid is laughing. That's one of our staffers. She took pity on me. She reached up and she tapped me on the shoulder. And she said, just be kind to people. Like if I wanted to repay her, that's what I needed to do. It's something that I hear every day, and I've heard every day since. So for the last 17 years, that's been resonating in my head, and it's not always the most easiest thing to do, is to be kind to people. Some people make it harder than others, and I'm sure you're aware of it. But I hear her voice in that way. And And she'd be very pleased today to know that Khalil is still taking care of his brother. You know, so over these years that you all have been nurturing us, we've missed out on the Freedom Conference. Believe me, it's something that we miss, and our folks don't know what they're missing. But COVID changed a lot of things for us in this world. We're hoping to be able to get back to it, but understand that each one of these backpacks will wind up with someone coming home from incarceration. And contrary to what people think, we're not all giddy and happy coming out of prison. I mean, there is that sense of gratitude and relief that this part of our life is over, but there's more fear and trepidation and anxiety than anything else, particularly for those who have been away for some time. It's like, what am I going to do? How am I going to make this happen? How do I prevent the kind of things I've experienced negatively in my life from happening again? All of this stuff. And for us to be in a position to be blessed and honored to be in a position to be receiving those folks when they come home, the benefit is for us in that space. But every one of those folks coming home will know that there's somebody right off the bat that cares for them, beyond the people at Second Chance Center. And this is something that sometimes it takes people a long time to really grasp. When Tanya said that thing to me about being kind to people, just be kind to people, I didn't have a frame of reference for that really in my life at all. I started practicing it. My wife used to make fun of me sometimes because I'll go into supermarkets and I'll use the clerk's name and speak to them, you know. She said, "Son, you don't have to speak to," well, yes, this is part of my transition. What I found was people started being kind to me for no reason. It's like, is this how it goes? And, you know, our relationship with Glendon Heights Mennonite Church kind of started like that. Me bumping into a guy who didn't know me from a hole in the ground, but opened himself up to a conversation with me, and then an offer that led me to something that he thought I might benefit from and others might benefit from as well. You know, that was all very generous and very selfish, John. And it also was visionary if you had any idea about me being perhaps useful in this way. I appreciate it. I don't get to see you much. I love you, man. I love what you did for me and what you did with me. And when you introduced me to your family here, that was big. And it's remained so. So you all have fueled so much of our growth over these years, and not just by these backpacks, but encouraging us and supporting us. And Rhoda's sitting here, her and Khalil were our original board members. When we were all sitting around a table that was so small that you had to touch the person next to you. Now we're a staff of 51, and you mentioned, Jeff, affordable housing. We were blessed to be able to build a 50-unit permanent supportive housing development in Aurora that we opened up on the 24th of February 2020. Thank you. Just in time for the pandemic to strike. And just the beginning of this month, we turned in a second application to CHAFA, which is the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority. So Khalil is spearheading the second project of ours, which will be, God willing, a 129-unit building on Florida and Acoma in downtown Denver, where 60 of those units will be for people chronically homeless, or recently released with disabilities, mental, physical, or emotional, just like Providence at the Heights in Aurora. The other 69 we're looking to be workforce housing units. As over the last year, Khalil and Candace, who some of you have already met, had developed an apprenticeship readiness program that has our folks in track to have what we call mortgage-paying jobs. We think that if people are able to buy homes, that they feel more a part of community. The roots are deeper. They'll dig deeper and fight harder and work harder to maintain those kinds of things. What we've been doing at Second Chance Center for the last 10 years is what we call role modeling possibilities. And to that point, there are many staffers who bought their first home as a result of working at Second Chance Center. And a number of our clients in the last 2 years our client partners rather, in the last 2 years have bought their first homes. And so I don't know what you'll think about it, but the climb starts maybe with a backpack and a welcome home. And where it ends, we don't even know yet for some of our folks. You mentioned Miss Deborah and Candace, and here we have Jamie Ray. If you raise your hand, Jamie. Jamie's our civil engagement lead, and she's also in her third year of law school. And, yes, and started something in the last year called Legislative Insides, where they had elections in, I believe it was 10 different facilities, where they elected their representatives. The inmate population elected their representatives to come and learn about legislation, how to write laws, how to prepare testimony, and we have 29 representatives throughout the state that are doing this work. Thank you, Jamie, for that. We have Mr. Rashid Jordan. Raise your hand, please, brother. We were born on the same day, in the same year, and we kind of look a little bit alike. We're going to have to maybe do one of them 21 and me's, brother, before it's over with. But it's a gentleman who came to us after doing over 3 decades in the federal system, and has brought a wealth of knowledge and compassion and commitment to this work going forward. So our team has grown over these years, and I just want you guys to know that, you know, whatever you thought you were doing when you first started supporting this rusty guy in the basement, what you really did was help fuel an entity that God has found use for in many people's lives, and we feel blessed to be still doing this. And I feel grateful that not only is my brother here to still look after me and take care of me, but that he can take care of this entity going forward. Because look, when y'all first met me, some of you remember, my beard was black. Okay? I may have made this look easy, but it hasn't been easy. Okay, I'm on Celesta, high blood pressure medication, a CPAP machine, okay, and just had back surgery. So I'm glad a younger, more robust man is stepping into this space to take us to the next couple of levels. And I just want to introduce y'all to him, my friend and my mentor, my brother, Khalil Halim. Please.
Good morning, family. I don't even know how you follow that up. As Hassan stated, Tanya came and talked to me and said, hey, I'm going to put this guy in the cell with you and take care of him. She didn't tell me it was an ongoing kind of job. So, I make sure that I remind her of that. I still haven't got paid one time for taking care of this guy, and it doesn't seem to end. But, one of the things that, I look at is like, if you guys ever used to watch those old karate movies, I did growing up, used to watch those old karate movies where the guy wants to learn from this master how to do karate. And eventually, that mentee becomes way better than the master. And that's what I've seen watching Hassan. I've seen him grow, and it's like a proud parent that sometimes, and I always say, they grow up so fast. Even though he's way older than me. It's been heartwarming to myself to watch him grow Second Chance Center and develop to the person that he is, as well as develop staff. And it's a pleasure to be able to continue that going forward, knowing exactly what his vision is from having several long conversations with him, sitting on the original board, and being able to push that forward as we have grown tremendously and are now focusing on being able to get in front of the growth and put some things in place to allow us to expand even further. And so I've been around since the first contribution from Glennon Heights Mennonite Church of our backpacks, and being able to give them away at our Freedom Conference, and just see our client partners, our guides, when they actually receive these backpacks is something else. And a lot of you guys, I know, Rhoda, have seen the expressions on their faces and, you know, how they use them. And we see them when they come in. A lot of guys, you know, we had one that got out just maybe a week ago, and he had absolutely nothing. He had nothing. He didn't even know where he was going and what he was about to do, and he came to Second Chance Center, and we were able to get him a backpack, get him into a different pair of clothes, try to get him transitional housing. And he's now working, Candace, correct me, he's now working with the pre-apprenticeship program. And so, in construction. And like I said, he came out day one and was scared. As Hassan mentioned, a lot of people, when they come out, they're happy, but they have no clue what they're gonna do. And that's frightening for a lot of us. That's frightening because, you know, they don't have family to turn to and talk to, or whatever the case may be, and really do not want to do the things that they did prior to go back. And so being able to have this resources as well as the other resources that we offer at Second Chance Center has been a help to unnamed thousands and millions. So again, I'll keep it short. Hassan was already long-winded enough, which he tends to be. Keep it short, and I'd just like to thank you guys for all of the tremendous work that you've done and for continuously to support Second Chance Center. And we look forward to still partnering and collaborating with you guys going forward. So thank you. I don't actually know who's